And welcome to this YouTube exclusive edition of the High Low Sports Podcast. I'm DJ joined by Kelsey, and tonight, Kelsey, we're talking about the rookies.
Yeah, man, these rookies this year, they playing out of their mind. They're better than expected for some of them, worse than expected for others. But yeah, it's been exciting this year to watch these rookies go.
And of course, this kind of stems from ESPN releasing their top 10 rookies so far of the year list. We're going to take a look at it right now, and not going to say it's wrong. I'm going to compare it to the Wild Wild West, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over our list of who we think the top 10 rookies have been this year. And I would say it's a little bit different from ESPN, NFL writers, and analysis version. Kelsey, how about you go first? We'll start at number 10 and work our way up.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit more different than a little different. I'm looking at like, oh, I'm the you know Sistine Chapel, and they're the knockoff kindergarten finger paintings. But hey, what do I know about sports? I just talk about it all day. But all right, so number 10, I'm gonna go 10-1. Number 10, I have Chase Claypool, the guy sitting at seventh in touchdowns overall. Big Ben's favorite target, has a 132 pass rating when he throws it to him. Probably his favorite target when it comes to actually getting completions for an undefeated Steelers team, by the way. Just no big deal.
So
Um,
basically, the guy he either throws to 30 times in a game or he throws to 0 times in a game.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fascinating to watch him play. I mean that trio in Pittsburgh is good by itself, but with Chase Claypool as that third weapon, it is outstanding. You have Juju kind of not really doing well. Okay, I can't say he's not doing a whole lot. He's doing pretty well. He's not like number one anymore, but he's doing pretty good.
You
Chase
got three
Claypool
number
though,
twos, and it works out.
exactly. Yeah, three quality number twos, three number twos that would be pretty much starters on half of the teams in the league. So Claypool included. But that's my number 10. Number 9, I'm staying in division. I'm going to go with Patrick Queen. You're looking at, 58 tackles on the season, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, tied second in the league with that, 2 fumble recoveries, and just happens to have a defensive touchdown as well. Always flying around on a defense that is just that. They fly around, they hit people, they take the ball away. They do what it needs to be done. This year, it's been kind of hit or miss with him, but he's been a bright spot this year. Pro Football Focus does not love this guy for some reason, but he's always around the football, always doing things. I think it's just because he's a rookie. I don't get it, but
He's the
you know,
king of queens, I guess, however you want to word it.
uh, you know, Kevin James ain't got nothing on this guy. That's for sure.
You've
Um,
clearly never seen Mall Cop.
fair enough. Fair enough. Number 8, I had Antoine Winfield Jr. here. And let me just say this. When I was going through the list, I was like, Winfield, he seems like an easy fit right here in this spot. Pretty good safety for the Bucks. But statistically, I couldn't find any reason to keep him here. Whereas statistically speaking, James Robinson, fifth in the league in rushing yards this season, just sneakily having a fantastic year as an undrafted rookie down in Jacksonville. I mean, outstanding in what he's doing. Honestly, I didn't put him higher on this list just because, well, I was lazy and I got to number 8 and I was like, why am I putting Winfield here when James Robinson is sitting there and statistically is better? Like, I don't get it. So,
So basically, you're trying to have a Florida battle royale here. The Antoine Winfield fans versus the James Robinson fans collide.
yeah, really, it does come down that way. And I mean, honestly, nobody sees a lot of Jacksonville this season, so it's kind of one of those. All right, well, I don't blame you for not seeing him,
Hmm.
but if you look at the statistics, I mean, he's there. He is the only reason this offense is going because, well, you know, Gardner
Yeah.
was Gardner's Gardner, and yeah, outside of Keelan Cole, not really many receivers doing amazingly this season or even decently.
They're a mess.
Yeah, but number 7, moving up the Eastern Seaboard to a division rival of Antoine Winfield's and not so much James Robinson. Jeremy Chin, guy is outstanding. If you heard our previous podcast where we were talking about our midseason awards, you heard me rave about this guy. He is absolutely outstanding. He's fallen a little bit on the tackles rating. He's 21st overall in tackles, but he's third in defensive backs in tackling. You're talking behind Buda Baker and Jordan Poyer, 2 guys that are known for just tackling. And he's third behind those guys. Number 1 in rookies by a mile. By a mile. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And just that the season he's having defensively on a very above average Panthers defense right now that I mean, they're what, like 21 points away from having a flipped record, basically. So it's kind of crazy, but
He's
I
also
don't know.
averaging 28 yards a carry, so I mean, nothing to
Yeah,
scoff at there.
no big deal or anything on that. But then moving up, number 6, Justin Jefferson. If you've watched any Vikings game this year or anybody who's played the Vikings this year, he's literally the only bright spot not named Dalvin Cook. It's Dalvin Cook or Justin Jefferson's out there somewhere. Adam Thielen's 40 has been nowhere to be seen. Justin Jefferson, yeah, okay, fair enough. He's been somewhere, but it's not where you want to see him. Justin Jefferson, though, is playing outstanding. 7th overall in yards. And it's just, I don't know. The future's bright for that kid. And we all kind of thought he was going to be a good pro receiver coming out of LSU. We wondered what he would do with Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. But, I mean, to be putting up 7th in yards with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, well, we see what other receivers have done once they left Kirk Cousins when they were doing that type of numbers. So
In Stephon Diggs' defense, it's not just they left Kirk Cousins, that he went to Josh Allen.
yeah, no, that's true too. Yeah, he went up to the perfect quarterback for Stephon Diggs' talents. So maybe I'm just reaching here, but I feel like Justin Jefferson is just outstanding this year.
He's
And
not missed a beat since his last year in LSU, that's for sure.
exactly. Maybe he's probably dropped a little bit in touchdown rate, but that happens with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback and Dalvin Cook as your offense.
Yeah, and when you don't really play much, you don't do much in the first 2 weeks, and then you catch on. So he had a 2-week bye to start the season.
Definitely. But then number 5, I'm going to give some love to the big men right now. I got to do it. I got to do it. Tristan Wirfs, number 5, the only rookie offensive lineman to have played 100% of his snaps this season. On a division leader, by the way. And yeah, he's literally only had 3 penalties all season, which for a rookie playing for Tom Brady, you couldn't ask for more at the tackle position. And might I add, he's only given up 1 sack when you have a statue standing behind you that literally only moves the 3 steps to get into his drop, and that's it. If he goes down, he goes down.
He's good at QB sneaking, so he's good at falling forward, I guess. If that counts as movement.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but yeah, you gotta. I don't know. It's if you're doing that good for Tristan or for Tom Brady, you can't really complain. I mean, really, for a big man, I couldn't ask for more for my top pick at tackle. So
The most gifted offensive lineman in the league, athletically speaking. My God, 4'8", 40 at that size and weight, 25 plus on the bench. No, thank you. I don't want that smoke.
I mean, Mekhi Becton had a great 40 for how big he was, but I mean, literally, I'd take Tristan Wirfs in a foot race over those 2 hogs. I mean, but
can I have them both standing in front of me?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, let me get one there, and I'm never getting touched. Mekhi Becton I might just throw this out there. He was consideration for my list, but I'm sorry, your team sucks.
Fair enough.
And that's why he's not on the list. But number 4, a guy you love a lot, and a guy I loved for playing when he played at Utah. His story has been outstanding. Julian Blackmon. Talking about top 15 in picks, tied for top 15 in picks. He has 2 picks on the season, but it's not the picks that matter. It's the timing of the picks. 2 fourth-quarter picks inside of the 10 while the other team is driving. You can't ask for more from your safety. Stepping in off of an ACL injury, playing less than 6 months later. Outstanding. I'm sure you'll say more about him, so I don't want to take a lot of your thunder on Julian Blackmon. I know he's your boy, but he's outstanding. I mean, that's all there is to it. The dude is just absolutely outstanding, and he is 100% being snubbed, just like the previous guy that was probably a defensive rookie of the year when he came out, in Darius Leonard on that defense, and he's taking cues from Darius Leonard and just playing outstanding. So
just a squad full of snubs, the snub squad.
Exactly. And then number 3, speaking of a guy getting snubbed by his own team, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is my number 3. The guy is still sitting in the top 10 in rushing, still has no fumbles. I mean, he's come back to earth. Okay, I get it. Le'Veon Bell's there. He's come down a little bit. We're talking about a man, though, that literally was carrying this offense through 3 weeks while they were trying to figure out what Patty's doing throwing the ball because, I mean, it wasn't great. He was only throwing for 2 to 3 touchdowns.
Only 2 to 3 touchdowns.
Only 2 to 3 touchdowns.
He's human.
We're talking about Patty here, though, so it's kind of one of those. And let's just say, their 1 loss to the Raiders. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have even been in that game that close. They didn't deserve to win that game. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that day he was one of the better guys on the field. So I'm not saying he deserves this shot, but if you ask for best defensive players on their team or best offensive rookie of the year, I mean, even just offensive player of the year, you got to give the guy consideration because he's just played outstanding on an offense that's already outstanding. He's stepped in and not missed a beat for this entire team. But then number 2, we got down to the battle for me. This is the battle of the quarterbacks, and I feel like this is kind of everybody's battle. And I love Joey B. I love what Justin Herbert and his rocket arm are doing. And I didn't want to go just based off a record. I didn't want to give the guy with a better record in here. I actually broke it down, looked at the stats, looked at everything around them, and looking at it, Justin Herbert is 14th in the league in passing. All right, great. Joe Burrow, 10th in yards. All right, you're like, they're pretty close. They're only 4 spots away. Well, here's where things get a little weird. One of them has Keenan Allen. One of them has Taj Boyd, the ghost of AJ Green, and T. Higgins. Which one are you going to prefer, Keenan Allen or any of those guys I just mentioned?
If I can get Taj Boyd, that would be cool. He's a 6'10" power forward I could throw alley-oops to.
Right? Yeah, I mean, that Boyd too. But, yeah, I mean, seriously, it's when you look at the weapons around him, Justin Herbert has more, and he's doing less with more. Or he's doing less with more. To me, the passing yards tells a really big story here. You're talking about a guy who's behind an offensive line that's pretty good in LA. Not great by any means, but pretty good. He lost his running game. That hurts a lot. So he's being asked to do a lot more as a rookie when he wasn't even expected to play this season. So Justin Herbert's sitting there with 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Okay, fine. You're only sacked 16 times though. So what are you doing that's not allowing you to, get these extra yards that Joe Burrow somehow getting? That was kind of my difference between these two. Justin Herbert just wasn't doing enough with the opportunities he's been given. Whereas Joe Burrow, like I said, 10th in passing yards, only 12 touchdowns, but only 5 interceptions, while still being sacked 32 times at this point in the season. 10 weeks into the season, 32 sacks. This offensive line is atrocious, but he's still managing to keep them competitive somehow. Literally don't know how in any of these games. They're not great on the record, but when you look at where they're actually playing and the level they're playing at, they're not far from being that team that's going to take the league by storm. And that was my edge in number 1. So, that's why I got Joe Burrow at number 1, Justin Herbert at number 2. But, yeah.
Hard to argue there. I mean, they were kind of 1A, 1B, however you want to slice them apart. I feel like as long as they're in the top 2, it's not an atrocious list. Yeah. I think even that's where ESPN got it right. The rest of it is where it went a little bit off the rails.
Yeah, exactly. I would 100% agree with you. 1 and 2 look good, but then beyond that, it was just kind of like, what are you guys doing?
Pretty much, yeah. That's kind of how it went for me as well. So I'll start with mine starting at 10. I decided to bring in your boy, CeeDee Lamb.
My boy.
He had a fantastic 3-ish game stretch there towards the end with Dak in those last 3 or so games before Dak got hurt. And he's still putting up pretty good yards right now. Good amount of touchdowns. He's not exactly if he had Dak around, his stats would be ginormous because Dak was pretty much just hucking and chucking in the fourth quarter when they're down by 30. And CeeDee was one of the many guys on the positive end of that, just like Amari Cooper was. So I think CeeDee is going to be the reason they could let Michael Gallup go and trade him, or the reason they could go trade for a tight end. Like CeeDee gives them that second option next to the freshly paid Amari Cooper, whoever they have in at quarterback next year, if they bring back Dak or if they just stick with Andy Dalton for some reason, or if they draft somebody. CeeDee Lamb gives you a true number 1, playing opposite of a true number 1. And when you get the ball in CeeDee's hands, one can dream, and by one I mean you. So basically, if you can get the ball into his hands, he's a different animal with the ball in his hands. So absolutely. That's who I have at 10.
Run after catch guys, for sure.
Exactly. What I'm going to do at number 9, I'm throwing in another Utah defensive back here, Jalen Johnson for the Bears. Second-round pick. One of the leaders in pass deflections. He still hasn't got both hands on the ball. He's got that Kyle Fuller syndrome hanging around him a little bit too much. But he's always breaking up passes among the league leaders. He does get targeted, does give up some catches, as you would expect a rookie. I mean, Justin Jefferson got a little bit of the better of him in their head-to-head matchup just recently. Although it was pretty dead even, Jefferson just had a few more, he did that to him plays. But when I look at Jalen Johnson, I'm like, that's a guy that's going to be a tough corner for years to come. I think he should be in the consideration for Defensive Rookie of the Year right now. He's obviously not quite on the level of some of the other guys, but you can't really complain if you're the Bears. If if they had any sort of offense, he wouldn't have to be on the field 45 times a game. So I think
Amen.
that's kind of what's holding back.
Amen, brother.
Exactly. So and number 8, I had Jeremy Chin here for a while, basically up until just recently, and he deserves to be in this list. He's the guy that got snubbed off my list. I took him out to put in your other boy, T. Higgins. Joey B's number one target, big body. Every time I watch him, he's posting up a corner, shoving them out of the way, and just snagging with 2 hands, and the DB's saying, "Hey, PI, push off," and is complaining to the ref. He is a 21-year-old kid, and he's already bullying full-grown men casually. He's the one. You talked about Joe Burrow not having a lot of weapons. T. Higgins has basically established himself as that weapon so far. Big, strong, physical body. What more could you want from a number one target, honestly?
But yeah, no, I love T. Higgins. The dude is outstanding. 6'4", goes up. One of the best 50-50 ball winners in the game today for a rookie, let alone for anybody else. Like, I mean, he's outstanding.
And he's pretty good when he gets the ball in his hands and moving too. And speaking of guys that are good with the ball in their hands, number 7, I got Justin Jefferson. A lot of the same reasons. The only reason he's slightly higher than T. Higgins is I think he's had a couple more oh my games, like a $175 in one game, a $126. He's come on a lot stronger recently. If you go for full body work, I might lean towards T. Higgins, but I think with Justin Jefferson exploding out of the gate here recently, it's like, oh, that guy's about to make a real strong surge for Rookie of the Year. And the first 2 games, I mean, you play the Packers where basically Aaron Rodgers was throwing darts all over the place and you were down by 15 since the start of the game. And then you played the Colts defense, which were not giving you anything that game. In fact, he might have ran into a guy on my list that I'll be talking about here in a little bit too, a few times. So we'll get to that in a bit. But Justin Jefferson, fantastic, arguably the best rookie receiver in a class that we were talking about coming into. Like, oh, rookie receivers, they're all so great. You can get it's 15 deep. He's probably among 3 that are sticking out, and he was the one that people were like, "Oh, he'll be a bust. He might not be as good. He's the late first-round guy you take if you have to." They're talking about him as a second-round pick. Then he runs a good 40, and they're like, "Oh, it's deceiving. He's not that fast." When I see him on the field, he looks pretty darn fast to me. So I think Justin Jefferson might have been the best receiver pick of this draft, if not top 3, easily.
Hey, I got to ask the Titans about how fast Justin Jefferson is. They'll tell you.
They know. Yeah. Number 5, I'm following in kind of the same footsteps as you. I got Tristan Wirfs. Actually, I got him at 6. I apologize. I can't count. I got Tristan Wirfs at 6. Protecting Tom Brady's front side. Big, strong, powerful, good feet. Put his only downside so far is Khalil Mack throwing him with one arm, but Khalil Mack, that's more of a thing for Khalil Mack than it is against Tristan Wirfs. We're not going to show that here because this is about Tristan Wirfs positively, not the one negative light for him.
Yeah, don't get mad at the big man for a guy that is a superhuman throwing him around a little bit.
I mean, getting thrown by something that's not fully human, that's not his fault at all. But otherwise, he's been a mauler. Ronald Jones has been able to get going because of him. Leonard Fournette's still alive, it turns out. He's able to get rolling. Tom Brady's not really getting sacked off that side very often. When he gets pressure, it's more up the gut than off of Tristan Wirfs' side. So some love for the big man in a really deep offensive lineman class.
Yes.
Jedrick Willis, Mehdi Betcon,
the
guy on the Patriots
in Detroit.
The guy on the Patriots whose name I can't remember playing in the guard spot. Yeah, not sure how to pronounce it. There's a lot of really good young offensive linemen in this draft, and I give Tristan Wirfs the edge as that guy so far. Like you say, he's protecting a statue.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 5, I got my defensive rookie of the year so far, Julian Blackmon.
Ooh.
He doesn't have the deepest stats necessarily. I mean, he does have, I think it was 2 picks, like you mentioned, 2 or 3. Yeah. One of them to seal the game against the Bengals. One in the red zone against the Bears. He's a tackling machine. We talked about him tackling Derrick Henry on one-on-one in the backfield on Thursday Night Football. He flies all across the screen. He's coming off a torn ACL in December and missed 1 NFL game. Yeah. And when he doesn't have the same tackles as Jeremy Chin, doesn't necessarily have he doesn't have sacks like maybe Chase Young. He doesn't pile up the stats, but he's all over the place, and he's pretty balanced with stats too. He's got pass deflections. He just flashes everywhere. He looks like almost like a full-grown Bob Sanders, more or less.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love the guy. Like I said, I was waiting on you to make the Bob Sanders comparison. I knew it was coming. I could hear it coming in your thoughts. Could hear the wheels turning. But no, the dude's actually fascinating. He's one of those guys that, like, the stat sheet is definitely deceptive. I mean, you look at the way he plays, and it's exactly right. He is so impactful. It is 100% a Bob Sanders type thing. You'd have to look at advanced metrics to really kind of see his impact. Because if you look at his wins replacement, like, the wins above replacement, the guy's outstanding. You replace him with anybody else right now in the season, and you're looking at like loss of 3 losses right there, and
Heck, week
that's
one when
crazy.
he didn't play, Gardner Minshew absolutely torched this top 5 ranked defense, 19 for 20 and 3 touchdowns, and that was with Malik Hooker, who's a good safety in his spot.
Yeah,
Then once Malik Hooker went down midway through the second week game against the Vikings, and that was when Julian Blackmon started playing even before Malik went down. His first play, he smashes the guy to force an incompletion on a slant. Like right when he does that, it's like, okay, Julian Blackmon, okay, look out, everybody.
yeah, definitely. He's just in the right places. I mean, it's as simple as covering your zone on a deep pattern to prevent the deep ball. I mean, it's just that simple from a safety, but he does it outstanding, and that's all you can ask for from a rookie
Just a
or
football player,
anybody. Yeah,
similar to like a young Tyrann Mathieu even. But at number
exactly.
4, I got the. I don't think he's the best receiver in this class, but he's been the most productive so far in Chase Claypool. The man had more touchdowns in one game than probably like 6 other rookie receivers have all season. He's been
Most
tearing
points
apart the
though.
league. He's got 4 times as many as T.Y. Hilton. He's got 4 times as many as you could go down the list. I think he's got 4 times as many as Julian Edelman. I don't think Julian Edelman's gotten the paint yet. There,
Yeah,
he's been the most productive one. I think it's 8 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing. 6'4", freakish athlete, super fast. Big Ben he's the guy that Big Ben's like, screw it, Chase out there somewhere.
yeah.
So not much else need to be said. His stats tell the story for him. We talked about Julian Blackmon's stats don't really tell the story for him. For Chase Claypool, they tell a pretty good story. Run it,
Yeah.
you put him in the slot, linebackers are on him, he shakes them. You put a corner on him, he jumps over them. He's a tough guy to deal with. Some games he does disappear. He's not quite as consistent as like T. Higgins, who's targeted every game. Not quite like what Justin Jefferson has been, but God, when Chase Claypool, when it's his game, it's basically a guaranteed 2 touchdowns on a $130 in some way, shape, or form. What he did to the Eagles should not be allowed. He should be tried in a Pennsylvania court after that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, literally, like when he's playing alongside of Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson?
Johnson,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like you look at what they're doing this season, you're like, wait, what? Like, and then Chase Claypool's over here, with a cool casual 9 total touchdowns from a third receiver, and you're like, didn't you guys sign Ebron to take this role? Like, hold on here, what?
And
So
Ebron's having a good season too. I mean, not as good as when he had Andrew Luck slinging the ball, but I mean, compared to what he's had the rest of his career, it's probably Ebron's second best year so far.
couldn't stop yourself. You got to get that Andrew Luck plug in there.
I didn't lie though.
No, you're right. You're exactly right. That's true.
Number three, I have a guy that you had a little bit lower on your list, which I was surprised because you actually predicted him to be a Super Bowl MVP, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CHE.
Oh,
I he's he's had some down moments, some ups and downs. They brought in Le'Veon Bell. We thought it was going to diminish some of his burn a little bit, but he's answered the call. I mean, the first game after they signed Le'Veon Bell destroys the Bills for, what was it, $120, $160, somewhere in there, couple touchdowns. His biggest threat has been receiving, moving the chains, just sucking linebackers down, and so they can't stick to Travis Kelce as well. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to have like an 800 type season at some point. It's like 800 rushing, 800 receiving. I don't know if it'll be this year with Le'Veon coming in taking some of the burn. So Clyde will probably not finish this high at the end of the season. But I think right now, with what Clyde Edwards-Helaire has done, multiple 100-plus yard rushing games, going to have a couple, probably a 100-yard receiving game coming up too. He's going to be their X factor if they want to continue rolling and take out teams like Pittsburgh, like Indy, like the Ravens. If they want to repeat, it's going to be because of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Then,
yeah. I
all right,
definitely
we know it is. We know what's
definitely agree.
next. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, 1-2 AB. Everything you said about Joe Burrow is true. He's doing a lot with less, top 10 in passing yards, terrible offensive line. This is like Andrew Luck and RG3 basically when they were rookies with a little bit of Russell Wilson sprinkled in there. I guess 2 would be like Russell since they're both winning with a better situation. Herbert has a little bit less to work with when you factor in how bad the offensive line is, how young they are. But Justin Herbert, man, 19 touchdowns, 6 picks, right up there in passing yards. I'm going to give the edge to Herbert because his offensive line is pretty trash too, and he lost his running back Austin Eckler against, I think it was his second starting game, is week 4, so maybe his third start. So he hasn't had a running game either. Where Burrow Mixon's been in and out of the lineup, so they both have had a similar issue. But at least Mixon has showed up in a couple games, and 3 touchdowns against the Jaguars. Mixon still got it. He's got a little something. Justin Herbert's also shown outstanding athleticism like Burrow, running away his touchdown against the Saints to Keenan Allen. Oh, they're sending 6 against 5. I'm just going to outrun Malcolm Jenkins straight by running straight at him and whip a touchdown. Burrow's been consistent. The fumbles are a little. He's got quite a few fumbles, a lot more than I expected, but he hasn't really lost a few. It's not Carson Wentz bad, so that's not too bad.
Not exactly.
Neither one's really winning games, unfortunately, because neither one has a real good coaching staff. The Chargers coaching staff is among the worst at managing the game in the league. Not quite as bad as the Bill O'Briens or the Adam Gase, obviously, but we saw it with Philip Rivers too. Like they did not manage games very well. So they're both carrying they're both carrying their franchises on their back. Herbert has a little bit more help, but I think he's taking the lead by storm. He outdueled Patrick Mahomes, arguably. He outdueled Tom Brady, arguably. Outdueled Drew Brees. The list goes on and on. He outdueled Teddy. Just looking at his strength of schedule too. Every game they're in, they just choke. Like they really easily could have a much better record to go with. Where unfortunately the Bengals, he's starting from scratch basically as well. So they've had some butt whoopings against the Steelers and the Ravens, which everybody gets beat by the Steelers and the Ravens. It's not a negative on Joe Burrow. It's just we're talking about who's had the best rookie year so far. I think Herbert's your leader for rookie of the year. This is a real indictment on the Oregon coaching staff that they were so bad they made this guy look like he had bus written all over him. Like this guy could not unleash any of these tools at Oregon, and now you just throw him in the NFL starting on 10 minutes notice after the Tyrod Taylor situation. And this man, my goodness, he's not just in line for rookie of the year. He might be in line for a Pro Bowl berth.
Well, okay, let's pump the brakes on the Pro Bowl berth right now. But I get your point. Your point is very valid, but he is also still sitting behind the former Chargers quarterback in yards in the season. Just happens to be your Colts quarterback in Philip Rivers, who's sitting at number 13.
Yeah.
But
How many picks
I
has
hear you.
Rivers thrown in comparison? How many touchdowns has he thrown in comparison?
Oh,
How many
100%. I'm
rushing
just saying,
touchdowns?
hey, I mean, I get it. I get your point. I'm just saying, when it comes down to passing yards, well, I mean, he's not quite there yet. But I will say, though, he's probably had some of the more fascinating plays between the two, between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. I
He's
do
had the
think
bomb plays for sure.
Yeah, I think Herbert's you mentioned Malcolm Jenkins' play also against Tampa Bay, stepping into the face of pressure, getting killed and throwing a 60-yard bomb. I mean, you don't just do that. That's not natural. That's a sign of somebody who is far above his pay grade. So I mean, I agree with you though. Really, these two at 1 and 2, 1A, 1B, flip a coin. They're going to be right there for probably their entire career.
I think anyone who has someone else at the top two is just kind of reaching or trying to be edgy at this point. Like, there's obviously some guys we didn't mention, like Tua, who we just haven't seen enough yet. Yeah. I didn't have James Robinson just because this is the top 10 list, and he's basically at 11. I didn't have Chase Young because of injuries and 3.5 sacks with 1.5 coming against the decimated Eagles team. Like, he's obviously been good. I'm not trying to discredit Chase Young. I feel like there's other guys who have made more of an impact for more of the season. Antoine Winfield, he's been had some really good plays and some really bad plays as well. Like, he's good. He's just not. I don't know. I just had other guys ahead of him. Can't even really say anything negative. Just had Michael Pittman's coming on a little bit. Jonathan Taylor had some moments.
Yeah.
It's been a really good rookie heavy year considering what we thought with the COVID offseason and not really knowing what you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, you imagine being these rookies. You come in, you're told, hey, you can't go to your facility. We don't know when you're going to be able to go to your facility, so you can't learn the playbook because you can't go to the facility to sign your contract. That's not going to be until maybe August. So these rookies,
you're going to learn how to be. We're going to teach you how to be a pro over Zoom. Be ready.
Yeah, exactly. Like these guys, I mean, they were in Zoom meetings. We're doing this phone call through Zoom. This is nothing. These guys are having to read a 500-page playbook over Zoom and learn how to, for Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow especially, learn how to read a defense over Zoom and not even meet AJ Green, not even meet Boyd, not even meet his tight ends, not meet any of his offensive linemen. But he did get a workout with T. Higgins, which is why I think we see that combination between T. Higgins and Joe Burrow this season, which is probably one of the more outstanding connections we see between any quarterback receiver, but especially between two rookies that never played with each other. What they're doing together is outstanding.
Plus, T. Higgins big, so you just kind of throw it, and T. Higgins go get it.
It's kind of something he never had the luxury of in LSU. He had a lot of quicker Justin Jefferson type receivers, but not a lot of big body T. Higgins. I can still run past you, but I'd rather just jump over you type of guy. Nobody really had that, but yeah, this is. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a rookie in this year, being told I need to learn how to do this, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he has to come into a Super Bowl winning team and say, hey, you're going to be our number one back. You're going to have to be in there pass blocking for Patrick Mahomes and learn all our lingo after you just came off a national championship with a completely different West Coast style offense. Like, what?
And by
That would
pass
suck.
blocking, we mostly mean just kind of chip a guy and catch the ball quickly. Just get open
Yeah.
instantly because that's your new role. We don't want your 5'4" self-blocking Khalil Mack either way.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could kind of see it in the early games where he was a little bit slow to get to start. They were keeping him in a lot more, and then yeah, you're exactly right. They made the change to having him chip and spin off, and it's been outstanding ever since. I mean, you saw that they're like, hey, we're gonna sign Le'Veon Bell, and then all of a sudden he starts scoring all these touchdowns, and it's just like, well, all right, never mind, we kind of messed up here, but
Dual running backs it is.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that'll do it for this YouTube exclusive version of the High Low Sports Podcast. Tell us which one do you think of us got the better list, or if we just did an absolutely embarrassing job trying to do better than ESPN, or maybe you have a better list than all of ours combined. Unlikely, but it's possible. Go ahead and comment below what you think. And of course, tune in every Thursday to the Unhinged Sports Network for the High Low Sports Podcast. And then on Anchor, as well as all your favorite Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all your favorite podcast networks on Friday as well. Kelsey, any last words?
Check out our Twitter, guys. I mean, if you haven't already, followed us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. We've been getting some hot takes lately. That let me tell you, I think we can both say have been some high quality takes that people are missing out on. Like we get some good one liners in these recordings, but I think our Twitter is the hot spot to be right now. I mean, give us a follow. I'm sure I can guarantee you follow worse accounts on Twitter. I mean, especially if you follow me on Twitter by myself, I'm a terrible account to follow. But our High Low Sports account is the one to follow. That's for sure.
Some takes age better than others. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Feel free to tune in for future episodes we have to come as well.
Absolutely. Until next time, guys. See ya.